So I'm Becky Leinweber, and this is my husband,
I'm David Leinweber.
and we're co-owners of Anglers Covey.
Yeah, we've been kind of doing it a while, but we've got kind of a backstory. We both were born in Colorado,
Yeah, we're
and
Colorado natives, and that's rare these days.
exactly. And Becky grew up in Lakewood, and I was kind of around, kind of discovered her in Lakewood, and we ended up getting married in 1983, I think.
Good job.
Did I do okay? I
Yeah.
think it was something like
Coming
that.
up on a big anniversary, but yeah, 1983. And then we were there for the early part of our marriage. We had twins, a son and a daughter, Rachel and Jonathan. And when they were about a year old, David got a phone call.
Yeah, I was working at the time. I was a camping buyer for Gart Sports, which became Sports Authority. Got a phone call from a friend, and he wanted me to come down and do the buying for a new outdoor shop called Grand West Outfitters.
Here in Colorado Springs.
Yep. So we grabbed the kids and we jumped in a U-Haul and
snowstorm.
in a snowstorm and drove down to Colorado Springs, and that's kind of how we started our Colorado Springs adventure, really getting going with that.
And for me, it was a huge change because I'd never traveled, never lived anywhere. So an hour south was a lot. And it took a while for me to feel comfortable in the community. And we'll talk later a little bit about how important the role of community is to both of us. But that was kind of my first part of it.
But I was really heavily in the outdoors, doing ice climbing and mountaineering, mountain biking, backpacking. I mean, we kind of did it all for a long time, and it was climbing. It got to a point where there was so many sports that we had to start kind of narrowing things down. And as we kind of narrowed with all that stuff, there was one sport that we kind of gravitated towards.
All right. So we do have a dog, a chocolate lab, Drake. He is our shop dog, and right now he's being naughty because he's taking the shop dog in training's toy and eating it. So we're going to put that away. In our early years before kids, we played like crazy. Colorado is just a playground for the outdoors, and both being natives, we loved everything. We did so many different activities.
Yeah, we were mountain biking, camping, rafting, kayaking, ice climbing, climbing 14ers, doing tons of adventures. We both kind of volunteered work with a youth group and did a lot of stuff with our church. We were like constantly active and about and doing a ton of things, and then we had kids.
Yeah. And so kids, all of you know, as young parents, there's a challenge there when they're little to figure out, what adventures can they join you on? What adventures are probably too dangerous for you to continue because now you have this big responsibility of children. And so we kind of tailored what we did around things we could do with the kids and things that wouldn't kill us potentially and leave our children without parents.
I sold my kayak.
You did.
It was a sad story. And anyway, we bought a Burley trailer.
And then we just took them on adventures with us. And we took them backpacking, we took them camping, we taught them some basic rock climbing at our cabin, which was barely any rock climbing, and rafted with them a little bit. Yeah. But fly fishing was a passion of David's since you were a kid.
Yeah.
And not really of mine. I really had not fly fished until later years, but it was something of yours, and it kind of rose to a higher place in the things that you wanted to pursue.
Well, you had a lot of outdoor background because your dad was in the national parks.
Yeah, my dad worked for the National Park Service. So every summer we went to different national parks. We got to travel around and see all of that. And then even as an adult, my brother worked for the National Park Service. And when I was a kid, my whole goal, I was going to be a park ranger. So that didn't happen, but that was always something I wanted to do because I loved the outdoors, I loved wildlife, and I loved just what it did to me when I experienced the outdoors.
So we end up with twins, and we wanted to kind of know what was next step. We kind of felt like we had a great opportunity to come down and work with Grand West Outfitters. And so we came down and we worked with them for about 6 years, and it was a great ride. We learned a ton. We grew the business like crazy. But then it was just kind of time for something different. We wanted to kind of get out of really working for someone else and more of something that would be ours.
And I want to back up just a little bit, because when we were in Denver and you worked for Colorado Outdoor Sports, we had an opportunity to get that little taste of entrepreneurship.
Oh, that's true.
When you opened the outlet. So we opened an outlet, well, David did.
I got to create the name and everything. It was called Chicken Head Mountain Sports. And we sold a ton of t-shirts.
In Idaho Springs.
Idaho Springs, and it was just kind of an outlet of discount, clearance items. I worked with Lowe, Mountain Smith, Marmot, a Solo, just a ton of different big brands that we kind of brought through the store, and we would buy their closeouts and then sell them, off price, and it kind of worked. I had a lot of creative license, and that was really great. But it was time. It was time to make that transition, and so we looked to try to develop a way to open a second fly shop. We wanted to open a fly shop up north, was kind of our goal, and we put a business plan together.
I was going to say, we still have it. It's in the basement. Our initial fly fishing shop business plan. Yep.
And after going to several different banks and trying to get kind of, started, see if we can get some kind of loan that we can buy inventory and all that kind of stuff, we basically got rejected everywhere.
Yeah, that was tough. We're enthusiasts, we have passion, and we have experience working in the outdoors, but we were a big risk, and nobody wanted to take a chance on us at that time. So we kind of had to shift gears. And you started pursuing other opportunities, other ways to maybe have that adventure in business, and that's where Angler's Covey came into the picture.
Yeah, I called up Kent Becky, who at the time was the owner, and I said, "Hey, I've got this idea that I'd like to run by you. Is there any way we could meet?" And I went over and met with Kent and Kurt Brecky. Kent was the owner at the time, and Kurt, his brother, was kind of the manager. And I presented the idea of opening a second Angler's Covey, that we would open an Angler's Covey up north. And out of that, they said, let's do it. And so I quit the job, and we started at Angler's Covey. And then a week later, Kurt Brecky announced that he was going to resign and move to Montana. And
it's just that fast.
And so it was just opportunistic. So all of a sudden I went from opening the store up north to now I'm managing Angler's Covey. And me and Kent struck off a really great relationship. We really worked well together. And Kurt left. Kent wanted me to have some ownership because Kent really felt like he wanted to sell the business.
Well, back up. So the whole reason that Kurt was working at Angler's Covey was because Kent was starting a new venture in Alaska. So Kent was doing some guided fishing trips, and he got this great 50-foot boat called the Chester Bee. And he was in Southeast Alaska, and he would take people out. It had a couple of cabins, and he'd take people out on really customized fly fishing adventures. And he was loving that. And so he was doing more and more of that. So to work the shop in Colorado Springs wasn't in his plan anymore. You're going to sit with us? Okay. Come on up here. All right. No, you don't get that toy, but you can come sit. So anyway, that was why Kent was looking for someone else to run Angler's Covey at that time.
Well, yeah, he had expected that Kurt would be always running it, I think. And then when Kurt decided to go to Montana, it was a little bit of a surprise. And so it allowed me to step in and take over the management of it. And so in 1996 and 1997, I became a part owner of Angler's Covey. And then I started pursuing banks to kind of buy Anglers Covey, and we kind of worked it. We got the numbers going. We were able to talk with a gentleman, Dan Rundgren became a great friend, and we kind of worked with him. And go ahead.
He's kind of jumping over something that's important. So when David was working with Kent, he was kind of an unknown to Kent, but the business wasn't doing very well just before that.
It was paying its bills, but I wouldn't say it was.
Wasn't growing. And David started meeting all the goals, and I mean, you really achieved a lot during that time, and I think proved yourself to not only Kent, but also to our advisor, Dick Hansen, who kind of was the person that stayed here in Colorado and helped make sure for Kent that things were going well. So he was kind of the financial advisor, business advisor for Kent, and ended up being that for us as well.
Anyway, so we finally were able to put together our numbers to the point where it really made sense to the Dan Rundgren, who was running the SBA program at the time, and we were able to get a loan in 1999. We were able to get a loan, and we bought the building, and then we also with that the business. So we became the official owners of Anglers Covey in 1999. So that's how it started. Then we ran into a problem. We kept growing the business.
Those of you that remember the old shop, I mean, we look on it with fondness. It was such a quaint little Victorian house. It was over 100 years old on West Colorado Avenue. And it was great because it was just a great feel of the store. It was very local, but man, it was a house, not a store, and it was really challenging. We did our classes upstairs. We had how many parking spots?
5.
Like 5 parking spots.
Through the alley. You couldn't park on the street.
And our tying room, which was a great tying room because Kent was a big birder also.
But the stairs going up were only 24 inches wide. So it was kind of a challenge even to get upstairs. So, but we used to do programs and stuff like that. John Barr, Pat Dorsey. We had a lot of old timers came by.
But we did classes upstairs. We had one room for tying and another room for other classes. That's actually where we started our women's fly fishing classes.
Yeah. Our guiding was getting kind of larger and larger at that time. We were doing much more of that, and we were doing a lot more classes and stuff. But yeah, a lot of memories from back in the day for sure. But the problem is that we really overgrew that building.
We did. We outgrew it. I just want to say from the family side, it was great having our young kids involved in the business there also. And they really grew up through the business there. I think, they were involved in different parts of it. Rachel did some bookkeeping in that little Victorian house. And they both, when it was inventory time, they would get their friends and we'd have pizza and we'd sit down and they'd count flies. And so our kids both really grew up in a family business as well, it was a great thing. They learned the lesson of hard work and the value and rewards of that. It was just a good thing for our family, I think, altogether.
Yeah, it was good. We had an early crew that was really helpful. Stan Benton was a big part of that. Jim Allman was a great staff member. Ed Harris was there. Some of our old timers and a whole bunch of other crew. Anthony Siraj was kind of one of our big guides at the time. Dennis Brady, and then of course Greg Blessing, who still is guiding. So from way back when. But anyway, we had a whole crew, and we really kept growing the business to the point where it was like, this building just can't contain us anymore. And that's when we started kind of looking out and looking around for different options. And That's where I put a phone call into Tom Perkins, who owns Perkins Dodge, and he owned the corner of where we're at right now. And we got in a conversation, and we actually struck up a great relationship, and we were able to pull together a deal, get another SBA loan lined up, and we did a construction loan, and we got going and built the building. It was quite a challenging time. I know that year we built the building, we had a few setbacks here and there. Mark Mahler was our contractor and a good friend, and still a friend even after the whole process. But he helped teach some of the classes and things like that. Neil Luring was part of all that too. But in those early days, we couldn't get the building kind of going fast enough just because of the whole bureaucracy part of the city and things like that. So things got delayed.
But
And we had already sold our old building, so we had to run a construction trailer.
most profitable year ever because we had like hardly
No
any
overhead.
inventory, no overhead, not much in the way of staff at that time either because we weren't in the big building yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for a lot longer than we thought, we worked out of a construction trailer.
Yeah, it was mostly during the winter season, which was kind of nice. So that was a plus because we had kind of done a big clearance and a reduction of our inventory in that fall, and then we moved out in September into this construction trailer, and then we were in that for a little over almost 6 months, a little bit more than that, I think.
Yeah, so
And
this
then-
was 2004 is when we started the construction.
Yep. And then we moved into our store in June 2005.
Yep.
So that's when we got into the shop and started rolling from there. And it's just been crazy kind of growth the whole time. So
Yeah. It was really interesting those the first year, I would say, as far as business goes, really working with some of the relationships we've built with vendors and asking them to help, saying, hey, we've got a lot more square footage here. For example, our hook vendors were like, we can display a lot more hooks. Can you, if we sell them, I mean, can you provide us that? And then if we sell through, then we'll continue to buy it. But this would be a great place for people to see all of that. And that really started a really large tying area, which is, one of the great things about the shop. And other vendors helped us too, because we were the biggest square footage fly shop. So they really helped us get what we needed to get started. And then we built up our staff, and
yeah, we're off and going. We had a tremendous growth that first year, but the curve started flattening out pretty quick. And after about 4 or 5 years, we were kind of a little bit challenged because we were trying to look back and go, man, we're just not seeing the growth that we once saw. The movie had River Run Through It has long since passed. There wasn't kind of this natural influx of people wanting to go into fly fishing, so it was kind of different. So we did a lot of navel gazing.
well, we also did a survey of our customer base, and then we did we did a couple of focus groups.
Yep.
Because we really wanted to learn, and we asked them some specific questions. What's keeping you from going fishing, and what's keeping you from going fishing more often? And we really listened to that. And one of the things we learned, which is a really key thing, and we'll come back to this probably later, is that we were a big part of the problem, because one of the challenges that they said was the river's so busy. It's just crowded. And we realized we were sending everybody to the same place on the river. Our website was sending them there, our staff were sending them there, our social media was sending them there. And we realized, well, we're sending everybody to the same place, no wonder it feels busy. So the other reasons for not going was family and time commitments. So we thought, well, we can't do anything about family. Family's always going to take our time, and they should. But we could do something about the fact that we're sending everybody to, one place on the South Platte River.
I think there's another thing we learned in that process is that we discovered that you, our customers, you kind of really don't want to buy a fly rod. What you want to do is go fly fishing. And we suddenly realized that all of your needs were kind of centered around going fly fishing, the experience itself. And the idea is that we shifted towards is if we can get you to go fly fishing and get you to go more often, then we'd end up selling more fly rods. And that mentality actually worked quite a bit.
I would say we had a shift. We had a business. Our paradigm shifted a little bit from looking in a business. You're looking at your market share, right? And you're saying, well, how many people in my market could I potentially market my product to? How much of those people are my customers versus a competitor's customers? And in business, a lot of times we focus on taking away from our competitors and pulling their customers into becoming our customers. And
well, we talk about it being a pie.
And we shifted, yeah.
Yeah, so how big of a piece of a pie does English Covey have? And I think we all do that, whether you're an insurance company, is your insurance company 10% of the market or whatever it might be. So we all kind of look at that pie and we say, how do we get get a larger piece, right? And that often is, like you said, is really taking from a competitor or being more competitive. And certainly business is that way. I think that's absolutely true. But the concept that we shifted towards is, well, what if we just grew the pie, made it bigger?
And what we mean by that is more people going outside and enjoying the outdoors, more people fly fishing. Well, a certain amount of those people are going to come to us for the goods and services that we offer. So we shifted, and the experience was a big part of that, focusing on the experience and not products, in telling people all the benefits of getting outside and enjoying fly fishing. And if more people found that out, well, a certain percentage of them are going to be coming to us. So.
But we did have another challenge, is that we couldn't send everybody to the same fishing spot.
Nope. We knew that was limited. And
so you can only grow the pie so much.
This was years ago. This was pre-pandemic, this big uptick in people getting outside. We already had a problem of sending people to the same places, and they were getting crowded. And you guys, as customers, know that. You've been out there and seen that. And so
we've really made a big shift, and we decided we would really explore backcountry angling, where you put a pack on and you hike 3 to 5 miles and you fish a small stream or high mountain lake, and or also still water. We have lots of lakes around. We have some of the best trophy water in the state is just within our reach. And so those two areas we thought are areas that we still think, and we are still developing and growing more and more. I mean, a lot of our guiding now is on kayaks, and that's actually kind of how Pikes Peak Outfitter came into play. We had 2 spaces that opened up, and we thought, well, why don't we take one of those spaces and turn it into kind of a water sports camping piece. And the water sports piece kind of ruled out, and we kind of dissolved the camping component a little bit. So, and then of course the other side, Colorado Tackle Pro, was just to kind of bring that kind of expertise and focus, because not everyone exclusively fly fishes, and we're certainly not saying that fly fishing is the only way to pursue catching fish. Chris, who's been running it from the beginning, is such an expert and has done such a great job. He is truly the local guy.
So we expanded the business with Pikes Peak Outfitter, and at the time our kids had grown up, and our daughter was going to school at UCCS and getting her business management degree. And it was her senior year that we talked about opening Pikes Peak Outfitter, and it turned into just a great project for her to start learning about starting a business and starting it small and learning about how to create the space and working with vendors and doing the marketing and all of those pieces.
Yeah, so she created the logo, and really the whole concept of Pikes Peak Outfitter was really kind of her development of. Even starting the relationship with Covey, who's now kind of a pretty key vendor of ours now, and really has altered the whole world. I mean, there was a time when you would go to Spinney, and it would just be, Cheerios is all you saw out there, and a couple of boats, right? Now it's like all you see is kayaks. It's just completely flipped. I mean, kayaks are pretty much like dominated. And what's kind of fortunate is we were at the beginning of all that. So, well, it would be fair to say that Colorado was really slow to the game.
Colorado wasn't at the beginning, but we were at the beginning of Colorado.
The rest of the country had already figured out kayak fishing, and it was exploding everywhere in Texas and Louisiana and all the, Michigan and all around. It just hadn't come to Colorado because the only way to fish was to stand in a river in waders and, go fly fishing basically. And so that has really kind of altered it. If you haven't gotten a chance to go out and fish from a kayak, you should try it.
So I just wanted to throw that piece in because as we expanded, our family involvement changed too. So I know we're talking about small business, so I'm going to throw in the family business pieces, and that was Rachel. But it was really interesting. So when our kids were little, they went fly fishing with us, that we took them everywhere, and they got tired of it. They're like, gosh, Mom and Dad are always fly fishing. Mostly Dad always had a rod. And there was a period of time when they were in their teens that they were like, we're not doing any fly fishing whatsoever. They were like, nope. But in their college, older adult years, young adult, but older, past school, they both have come back to fly fishing and really love it. And Rachel really has always had the interest to be a part of the business, and Jonathan has been in and out of the business. He's doing construction work right now and really loves that, working with his hands. But this Pikes Peak Outfitter really gave Rachel an opportunity to spread her wings and learn those pieces. And now you guys know her. You see her more than me and David probably. She's our general manager overseeing all three shops. So that was kind of the progression.
So Rachel, kind of comes into play through Pikes Peak Outfitter, and she starts kind of like looking over the fence and starts going, man, that fly fishing stuff looks like it's actually kind of fun. And she had done a couple of adventures herself. She had gone and lived in Alaska for a summer, and
with crew at UCCS.
Yeah, and so it started becoming cool to be someone connected to fly fishing, and then so she started getting into it, and it really didn't take it long for her to kind of be all in, I think.
Yeah.
And at the time we were kind of, this is actually a time that we were looking at the fact that there's a basic principle in retail that 80% of the household income is spent by the wife.
Women.
Yes. And unfortunately at the time, less than 5% of our customer base was women.
Yeah, we started recognizing that early on though, because we'll segue here real quickly. When I took up fly fishing, David took me out initially, and it was honestly it was a small stream, and I think that's what first made me fall in love with a small stream. Was he took me out, and it was just the strategy and fooling the little brookies that were so eager, and I loved all of that. But right after that, he sent me to, or provided the opportunity that I took to go to a women's fly fishing camp. And I learned from other women. All of our teachers were women. We had so much camaraderie and just enjoyed that environment, learning together. And we started talking about how women learn a little bit differently or enjoy the sport a little bit differently than men overall. And I know that's a generalization, so not everybody is the same, but we were looking at that, and that's why we started doing some women's camps, even in the old shop, but put much more of an emphasis on it and growing it in the new shop.
Yeah, I think a lot of men enjoy the solitude of fly fishing, and certainly a lot of women do also. But what we did discover is that women really like to be in groups. They like to go out with people, and so that led Becky to kind of look at creating an organization called Pikes Peak Women's Anglers. And the whole point of that is just to get women together once a month and either talk about or do some kind of fly fishing.
Do different fly fishing adventures. I did it with Sharon Wright, was the first person that I teamed up with that, and Sharon and I did it for years together. You're a little distracting, Bucko. But yeah, it was kind of interesting because when I was teaching women's classes, I would come home to David and I would say, when you're teaching a class and it's all men, do they all ask for each other's phone numbers and emails after the class? And he's like, yeah, no. And I'm like, okay, well, when you're on the river teaching the class and one of them catches a fish, do the others stop and go, yay, that's awesome? And he's like, yeah, no, we don't do that. And I'm like, that's why I love teaching women. I mean, that part of it is a little bit different for us, and we just really enjoy that togetherness and that, like I said, that camaraderie, that social aspect. So we started trying to find ways to engage women in fly fishing, and certainly the classes were one way. Our classes have always been co-ed, but it can be intimidating to somebody's starting out and trying this, and especially for women in a more of a male focused, dominated sport historically. And so we wanted to just provide other options for them. And then we started Pikes Peak Women Anglers so that women, maybe they enjoyed fly fishing, but they didn't have a partner or somebody else who did it. And so this provided them that opportunity to come together and meet other people who enjoyed fly fishing, and some great friendships have come out of that, so that's been fun.
Yeah, I mean, in the outdoors in general, we've seen over the last 20 years women really gravitate to it, to the point like in paddle sports, for example. It is actually, there's more women who participate in paddle sports than men right now. So that's kind of an interesting note. But we have really put an emphasis on this. We've put a lot of investment in it. We feel like we have probably the strongest representation of women's products of any fly shop that I know of in our entire region. And I think we're pretty proud of that.
Yeah, and it's not just what we offer product-wise and services like classes and the club, but I think it's really also just the mentality of the people working there. You know, we've tried to hire some women so that people see people like them who are knowledgeable about it. And there's still, I remember Rachel, and this wasn't that long ago, a few years ago, going into a fly shop elsewhere with her boyfriend at the time, and the people behind the counter focused completely on him until he turned and said, well, she's the general manager of our shop. Maybe you should talk to her. Because there's that assumption often when you go into a fly shop that if it's a guy and a gal, that the woman may or may not fish, or certainly wouldn't be as accomplished as the guy. And so we're making that shift. We're trying to do that, and our staff are definitely more welcoming and aware of that as well. And I think that's really important for people to feel comfortable in the shop, to ask questions, to share their own knowledge. So anyway, that's been key.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I think we can hang our hat on that I think we've been very, very successful in kind of doing is really looking at those trends, particularly in the outdoor industry, and seeing that more and more women are really jumping in and really enjoying all different aspects of sport, including fly fishing. And I think that's really, really key. The other component that we kind of developed is our guiding. Our guiding has really kind of grown and developed, and we are limited. We have some challenges with our guiding in that we cannot just take anyone any place. It's unfortunate, but we just can't do that. Once we're labeled commercial use, we're kind of lumped in with timber harvesting, mineral extraction, and grazing, and commercial outdoor recreation. And so those are all consumptive industries. Outdoor
Fly fishing
is not a consumptive industry. And so why are we, we're kind of treated the same way. And so we're very, very limited on how many people we can actually take.
Yeah, just not even for guiding, but even for classes. And
Yeah.
we wanted to have a small stream class. Couldn't find a small stream that we could do a class
Yeah, the
on.
closest small stream we can actually go to and pay an instructor would be Alma. That's the closest stream we can go. So I end up actually worked out with Carl Parks and Wildlife that I do the small stream class, and then I take everyone out for free on the following Saturday, and we just go out and fish for free. And so, I mean, that's really the only way it can work. And so I'm trying to work legislation and other things to get some of those things changed, because you as the public should be free to hire your coach whenever you want to. You should be able to get information. We would love to do classes on 11 Mile Canyon, for example, but we can't. There's just no way we can do that kind of thing on how to fish 11 Mile Canyon. That's why you've never seen that class. But it's a difficult situation, and I think if you turn it around and you ask the public, why should the public be limited on who they hire? I don't think the public should be.
I think that's what I was going to say. There's a little bit of a misnomer or misunderstanding about guiding. And there's this idea that there's commercial guiding and then there's the public. And who do we take out when we're guiding is the public. It's people who want to, like you said, either have access to a place that they wouldn't normally have a coach to help them do it better. They might have some kind of disability. You mentioned taking somebody in a wheelchair before. People that don't feel comfortable waiting by themselves and they want somebody with them. There are a lot of reasons people hire a guide, but the restrictions are a challenge for us. And we started looking at that and some other things as a small business.
But we had a small voice, and that's kind of the deal. So I joined the Colorado Springs Chamber and started to go and talk to other business leaders and start to share some of the dilemmas and things like that. But again, I'm just a small business that doesn't have much of a voice. And that kind of prompted the idea of pulling together and starting a kind of a business group is where it kind of started. And now it's grown into a entire, I don't know, what would you really do?
Outdoor industry.
Yeah, a whole outdoor industry component for our region. And so I founded Pikes Peak Outdoor Recreation Alliance, PPORA, and it kind of just was the right thing at the right time. And we got several organizations and groups together, nonprofits, businesses.
Well, it was kind of funny because we started this, it was definitely a grassroots effort. I mean, if we were back in the telephone directory days, we went through the yellow pages, but we did it with online, and we're like, all right, anybody in the local vicinity that has something to do with the outdoors, they're invited. And so we went
And there are
down
some
the
key
list.
people. You know, Greg Wellings from his company is Adventures Out West. Jerry from four-wheel drive, Predator four-wheel drive. I mean, those were some of the key people that really kind of helped get it launched.
Jennifer Peterson with Rocky Mountain Field Institute.
Yeah.
Yeah, a number of them, but it was kind of interesting because we threw out this invitation and said, if you're interested in us talking about working together, we're going to have this meeting, and we thought we'd have like 20 people. We kept having to find chairs because we ended up with over 40 people at this first meeting, and then after the meeting, it blew up on social media because there were some partners, some nonprofit partners that we didn't know about. We would have invited them had we known, but they were like, why weren't we there? We need to be a part of this. And so we're like, I think we're onto something.
Yeah. And that's how we got going. The governor at the time was Governor Hickenlooper, and he just started the Office of Outdoor Recreation. Matter of fact, at a national level, the industry of outdoor recreation wasn't even counted. There was no numbers. No one really had any kind of clue what it was. And the outdoor industry did kind of their own work and came up with a number of $886 billion is how much Americans spend on outdoor recreation. And that would be taking the entire pharmaceutical industry and combining it with the entire automobile and oil and gas industry. If you take both of those industries, which I would assume you would think would be big, well, outdoor recreation is larger than both combined.
But we had some challenges, and one of those is we all like people like us. So we hang out in our silos. So like those in the climbing, those climbing enthusiasts, they hang out with climbers, fishing, hang out with fishers, hikers.
OHV, Don Riggle, here's a shout out.
So we all kind of hung out in our silos, and so what we were putting together and putting forth was, hey, what if we all work together? We are all dependent on the outdoor spaces. We all need to have great habitat for the things that we do, a great natural environment. We need policies that allow for access. So all of us have some things in common. What if we came together and worked together? So that was kind of what we started.
So the first 2 years was kind of rough because it was all, nonprofit. We didn't have...
we weren't even a nonprofit yet.
Well, yeah. Well,
the chamber helped us get
we
started.
created it. We got everything kind of started to roll and that kind of stuff. And we soon discovered that we couldn't really lead this organization from kind of a volunteer type situation. And so we hired a couple of people to co-share the executive director, and one of those was...
It was just a time in my career where I was I was done doing what I was doing. I was getting older, and I wanted to do something with greater impact for our community. And David and I, he mentioned being involved in the chamber and EDC. We also were participating in business groups, and we started realizing that to grow Anglers Covey, we need to be more involved in the community, and we needed to know what else was going on out there and participate more. And so we started getting more and more involved. And so this time in my life was a time when I wanted to do something with just a little bit greater impact for our community. And so the time was right. Volunteered at first. As it grew, we gained more stakeholders, participation, et cetera, and then became a paid position. And that's what I'm doing now. It's my full-time role. So I'm still doing things with the women's groups at Anglers Covey, but this is now my day-to-day full-time job.
But it's really grown and evolved. So at the state level, they've also grown and evolved. And Colorado Parks and Wildlife has partnered with GOCO and the Forest Service and several others in an organization they call the Co-op. And
standing for Colorado Outdoor Partnership.
So it's just bringing everybody together to kind of discuss how do we balance recreation and conservation and maintain being a great state. I mean, I always argue with the fact that if the fishing, goes upside down, then my business is upside down. So I need there to always be good fishing. So I have to be connected to conservation. And that's been, why we've been so involved with Trout Unlimited and some other organizations that have done some really good work in that way. So at the state level, our Governor Hickenlooper at the time, started the Office of Outdoor Recreation. And Luis Benitez was a big part of that. And he really, really supported and got us going. And then out of that transition, this organization called the Co-op wanted to expand their ability to understand what the rural community wants outdoor recreation to look like for them.
Not just the rural community, but just communities across the state, because they were recognizing that local communities knew best what their local communities needed in reference to conservation and recreation of our beautiful outdoors places in Colorado.
So Pikes Peak Outdoor Recreation Alliance is now the regional partner for the state of Colorado.
Yes. And so to back up just a little bit, in our early days of PPORA, one of the things that we recognized, and this was way before the pandemic, was that the Pikes Peak region was getting a lot of growth. We were projected, we still are projected to be greater than, population-wise, than Denver by 2050. And because of that, and all these people are flocking here, they all enjoy the outdoors. We have such quick access to the outdoors. It's right out our backyard. Our wildland-urban interface, so that means the wild areas, the forest, and the city bump right up against each other. It's not like Denver where it's 45 minutes before you get to the foothills. So that we're getting all those people, and because of that, we're starting to see some big challenges. But so the problems that we're having, or the challenges that we have in the wild areas, the forest, like wildfires also, are coming into the city. And then some of the challenges from the city, like homeless camping, trash, some of those things are moving out into our wild spaces. So we're having these challenges, and so PPORA was seeing the reading on the wall and starting to work on some planning. We were gathering together the Forest Service, Parks and Wildlife, the county, the city, the nonprofits, and the businesses to all kind of weigh in on what we needed to change or plan for the future, because it was only going to get worse. And then, years later, we have this opportunity through the regional partnership, and it just took what we were already starting to work on, and now it gave us some funding to really focus on it. It gave us some credibility, and we're really excited about this opportunity to more formalize the direction that we were heading with this regional partnership. So we're excited about it.
It's kind of been like the next step.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the previous steps of support was really from Visit COS and the Chamber, both key partners from the beginning. And then we had El Pomar kind of came in, and we did a number of things with El Pomar. And that started growing, and then we started
LART funding is
and then LART funding in the way that LART supports the arts community. They also support the outdoor community through funding, and our outdoors helps put heads in beds. That's the motto.
And it draws workforce for other businesses. Some of the tech companies in particular, and I don't know why it's tech companies, but their workers want to live in a place that have amazing outdoor amenities. And so one in particular that I won't name he has been huge about it, and they've got programs at lunchtime. They all go for bike rides because it's just so close. That has been a draw for them, bringing workforce here. So,
And that's that whole quality of life component. I mean, if you're a young professional, do you really want to spend your entire life in Chicago? No.
probably not.
No. Or Colorado Springs. So, I mean, that's the draw. I think that's the plus. And so that's what we try to highlight and to kind of help support and grow our community. And I think we've done a pretty good job with that. So now we're entering a new phase of saying, well, how can we plan for the future and kind of get ahead of that? And so we're going to be, PPORA and Becky, with her team, is going to be doing some regional planning of what is it that we, the community, want to see with outdoor recreation. And so we're going to be, and starting in January.
Plug.
Yeah,
We're
here it
gonna
is.
just plug.
Starting in January.
The third week of January, we're going to be hosting some community listening sessions to learn from all of you what's really important to you. What are your conservation priorities and recreation priorities, which really boils down to what do you value? What do you want to see in the future? If it's more opportunities for the type of outdoor recreation that you enjoy, or if it's preservation of some of those really special places that make this a place that is a draw for you. Any of those kinds of things we want to hear. Maybe it's better management of what we already have. We've got some beautiful places, but we have some locked bathrooms, or we don't even have bathrooms, or we have parking lots that don't allow for trailers. Whatever it is, we are going to be conducting these listening sessions to learn more from the community. And just so that you know, this is a big partnership. So this is not just outdoor businesses like Anglers Covey, but this is our conservation and stewardship nonprofits, our user groups, and our land managers. And that's really key because the Forest Service, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, the city, the county, utilities, they all have the ability to make some decisions that will affect how we enjoy the outdoors in the future. So having them at the table is really key too.
Yeah, so ways of trying to diversify and spread out people into our resources is kind of key. That's one of the key principles that we're kind of looking at. And it's actually parallel to what we've done at Anglers Covey. We hope to kind of spread people out and have you consider other places to try. Don't necessarily go to the same place every single time. Try different locations and different techniques and different types of fish. All those things are really kind of balances you as an angler, I think.
Yeah.
So conservation is something that we've kind of believed in really strongly, and being engaged in the community and with our community leaders has really, really helped me as a small business leader really try to get some of the issues that we've struggled with. And one of those has been kind of the homeless situation. It's been really challenging for us at Anglers Covey. We've had upwards of 50 to 70 people living along the stream right behind our shop, and they have really decimated that area when they were there, and they would steal from us at Anglers Covey, vandalize. It was becoming a really, really big problem, and I went to Colorado Springs Stormwater Division and sat down with them and kind of said, hey, I've got this idea. We're all struggling with this homeless issue, but here's my idea is I know that the city is not or has a practice of leasing land that they're not currently really using to a business that can have a purpose for it. And I would like to enter into a lease with the city, and I'd like to lease Fountain Creek behind Anglers Covey. And that was just before COVID. The city actually looked at it and got pretty excited about the idea because, I mean, as we all know, the homeless situation has not gone away. I think there's times when I've seen improvements and some times where I've not seen improvements, but I think recently it's kind of gotten a little bit better. And I think we're starting to take a little bit more aggressive stance because there's really a risk factor, not only to the homeless, but also the community that's around that. We were able to lease the stream behind our store, and now we're doing a big restoration piece, and we have some trout down there right now.
Some of you have helped us with that. We did
Yeah,
some
exactly.
cleanup of the area and cut down branches and dead trees and just made it a more open, inviting space just along the bank. But eventually we're going to get into the stream and do some things there because there are fish. There are fish in the creek, and we want to make better habitat for them so that they stay, they have homes in that area.
So Trout Unlimited has a program called Trout in the Community, where they have around 24 locations where they schools around the state raise trout as part of their science project. And we have 7 in our region, and we've been asked to be kind of a hub for those and do a support piece where we're raising trout in our foyer that most of you have seen when you kind of walk into Angler's Covey. And if any of those schools have a catastrophic event or whatever it might be, they can come to us and they could use some of the fish that we have to maintain or sustain or keep their project going for those schools. On top of that, we've kind of developed a pond. So the fish that are in the aquarium now, we can take and actually stock them in our pond, one of our casting ponds.
Wait, stop. We've never had fish in our ponds before, except for the one time that someone from the homeless community put a fish in our pond.
That's right.
Because it couldn't get there
2
naturally.
fish.
Okay, that's the only time. So we've never had fish in our ponds. So this is really cool because you've been casting in our casting ponds, but there have not been fish. Now there are.
Yeah, now we have about probably 40, 50 trout are in there right now. So, and then those fish can in turn be now stocked into Fountain Creek. And so we're going to develop kind of a whole cycle there. So one of the things we'll be working on over this winter and into the spring is just creating more homes down below. The sea stormwater is going to provide us some additional rock material that we're going to kind of use for some stream restoration and just trying to be creative in how to use low water volume that will get high water volume. And so how do we kind of develop something that kind of will work in both those situations? So it'll be interesting how we kind of pull those things together, but it's kind of a fun project. And the transformation down along that stream is pretty significant.
Pretty cool. We've also, back to the community, there's been a lot of interest in what we're doing on the stream, and there are going to be some cool educational classes. Colorado College wants to bring some students there. There are environmental students there. Catamount Institute's going to bring their kids there. We'll be having classes there where the city is awesome. They're providing some rock for us. We're doing an amphitheater so we can do classes streamside. Just a lot of great opportunity there.
Yeah. So we have that going on, and so we kind of keep busy and with all this stuff, and then.
Wait, the one other thing, what's transformed it though, it's kind of cool. We have cameras out there. Barn Owl, we're partnering with Barn Owl. They're testing equipment and we're able to use it. And we have more wildlife back there.
So Barn Owl is a company, and what they do is you can get cameras. They're kind of game cameras that work off of cellular, and so every time someone walks in front of it, it takes a picture, and then it's sent through cellular signal, and then I can actually see it on my phone, and that's where we get to see all the animals. We see deer,
black bear.
We had a bear for
deer,
he was there every day for a 2 or 3 week period.
We've never seen that much wildlife, so
raccoons.
Kind of taking back that space and ensuring we don't have homeless campers there anymore, and clearing out some of the debris has created this habitat for wildlife.
Yeah, it's
which
been
is
kind of cool. It is pretty neat. That is
Yeah.
really pretty neat. So we've had a lot of successes at English Covey, but we've had some setbacks also. And as some of you know, we've had a couple of people who have worked for us who just had a difficult time taking on the challenges of life and made a decision to take their own lives. And it has been pretty impactful to us, particularly, and the people that work at English Covey. And so we've really kind of been focusing in on this whole mental health program. And as many of you know, we've been doing the fly fishing film tour for a number of years and been partnering with Project Healing Waters, who really does kind of work on this in the vet community in terms of mental health and disability, and really helping vets get acclimated into society and work on all that. But what's different now? There's something different now, and that is that it's not the vet community that's part of this increase that we're experiencing. Right now, Colorado's ranked number 5 in the country in suicide, and El Paso County is ranked number 1 in Colorado. And so it's a much broader problem than our vet community.
And it's one of those things where you don't realize how bad it is until it affects you, and you start talking to other people and realize how many people in this community have been touched by it. Because it's always been something we don't talk about, so that has to change, number one, but it's much more prevalent than you think.
So we're looking to kind of expand a little bit and really focus in on mental health, because we personally believe that there's a great connection between mental health and the outdoors. And
Yeah, just getting outside. I mean, you guys know it. You're on the river. You just, the rhythm of the water, just the cool air, just the sun on your face, and just being in creation. And for us, we think it's because you're connected to the Creator, but just being outside just does something to you, and it just helps you mentally and emotionally. We both believe that.
so we're going to be starting a new foundation that's going to focus on this, and we're going to partner with the Pikes Peak Community Foundation. With their help, we're going to start a fund, and we're going to call it the Morning Hatch Foundation. And the idea is we're going to try to pull money together to help groups that are kind of addressing this issue, using outdoor recreation as a component of it, and see if we can kind of support them. We still plan to support Project Healing Waters and all the great work they do, but it's a bigger problem than just that, and so we want to do more. And so you're going to see some of that kind of roll out here in the next couple of months. We're actually pretty excited about it. Pikes Peak Community Foundation was also very excited. They don't know of anyone that's kind of thinking of connecting mental health and outdoors, and so this will be kind of a new thing even for them. So, but we have a team together, a committee that's going to kind of work the organization and kind of allocate funds to groups that are looking to kind of lean in on this.
Yeah, we want to support the local work that's going on here and encourage the development of new work. There could be somebody who has a great idea about how to take an outdoor experience and provide it in such a way that it improves one population's, mental health and emotional health. And it could be youth, it could be adults, it could be veterans, it could, there's so many different ways that can be done. And it can be through fly fishing, of course, we love that, but it could also be through other outdoor experiences. And so we just want to be very intentional about trying to make an impact where we see our community has a real pain point.
And it's a big challenge. And so I don't believe I know, I don't think we know where this is going to lead or head or whatever. And we're certainly going to realize that we can't do this alone. And so we're going to be reaching out to our customer base to see how you can come along and kind of help us take on this challenge. And then we're going to look for key partners around the city that want to come alongside. And so we're actually pretty excited about it. We think it's the right thing to do at this moment in time. We hope that you'll see that as a great support to what
We invite you to partner with us in that. Come into the film tour. If there are other opportunities, we think there might be some over the holidays to support this work, that'd be great. But if nothing else, just be aware that this is a problem in our community, and I hope that you'll talk to family and friends and build the kind of community where people can share their concerns and their feelings, so that it doesn't get to the point of someone deciding that they're hopeless.
Wow, we've really talked to you a lot here, and we're excited that if you've listened this far, you kind of know probably more than you wanted to know about the Leinwebers, and certainly about Drake, the wonder dog here.
But we're really excited about the future.
We are.
We love being a part of this community, being a part of the fly fishing community with all of you. This holiday time is a time to really celebrate, be thankful, and share our gratitude of one another. And we just want to thank you for being a part of our lives, our families' lives, our business life, our community, and all that you have contributed. So during this holiday season, know that you matter to us, and we are just so grateful for you.
Yeah, there really is no way we could have done what we've done without you supporting a local small business, and that means a lot to us.
As we come up on Small Business Saturday, we know your tummies are full from Thanksgiving. You're tired of shopping those Black Friday deals that started before Black Friday. It's getting earlier and earlier. It's just strange. But we want to take a moment to just say how much we appreciate you. Small businesses don't survive without people like you who invest in us, who instead of going online and doing the big boxes, you come and see us and talk to us and support us. So everything you do matters. Your dollars stay here locally, and we just really appreciate your support.
And we want to hear from you also. You're our customers. We want to be sensitive to how can we come alongside you and help you find your adventure. We want to invite you into adventure, and that's been our motto. We want you to include you and make you a part of something that's so amazing here in Colorado Springs. We have so many resources and so many opportunities, and if there's anything we could do, just come and talk to Rachel.
She'll be our point of contact. All right. Well, thank you all for listening to this, for being a part of our larger family as you hear about our small family. Hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Don't be a stranger. Come in. We'll be doing some cider and cookies on weekends. So come and enjoy and celebrate with us.